I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and here is all of the yarn that I dyed as part of the January 2023 ChemKnits Dye-Along live stream. Last month, I was inspired by this humpback whale breaching out of the ocean near Hawaii. In part because I had seen a couple whales, super far away, nothing like this, on the vacation I took in December, but also because I wanted to play with a lot of blue hues. We dyed 4 different yarn bases in the live stream, and in this recap I'm going to take you through all of the bases and then show off some of the yarn that you dyed at home inspired by the same inspiration photo. Before we jump in, please make sure you are subscribed to the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel, turn on your notifications so you never miss any new videos. I post new content at least twice a week and you don't want to miss it. We started off dyeing some superwash merino twist or twill from Knit Picks. This is a heavy worsted weight / Aran weight yarn that is very bouncy. The plies have a lot of twist in them, and you can see that the yarn feels very, very round in nature. And because there is a lot of twist and the yarn is relatively dense, there are only 149 yards per 100 grams of this yarn, which is its biggest downside. This first colorway I dyed is somewhat more repeating. I took 5 different acid dye colors in Dharma acid dyes in silver gray, tornado gray, alpine blue, sea spray, and indigo blue. And I had originally picked these 5 colors, well, not the grays, but at least the 3 blues by taking a look at the swatch that I had done of all of my blue acid dyes. I wanted blues that gave us a bit of depth but weren't quite as deep as a navy. I didn't want anything too bright either. And I know the photo doesn't have a lot of green and sea spray does lean greenish, but I wanted that in there to sort of add a little bit more dimension to otherwise the very blue and gray palette that we would have going on here. I dyed all of this yarn by applying the dye powder in a more repeating way in the pan, and then adding water and sort of moving everything around to help the colors spread out. This softened the colors, but you can still feel a few of the different blues and grays all mixed in here. For our second colorway, I did a very similar technique, also starting cold with no acid, but this time I layered the colors on in a much more random configuration within the pan. And I think I only added colors mostly to one side and not very much, if any at all, to the other. I knew that this would give us some pastel patches, but I knew this would fit in with our video really, really well. The second yarn base is another heavy worsted weight / Aran weight yarn, which, I don't know, whales, it felt nice to deal with thicker yarn. This is Bear Muse from Knit Picks. And this yarn is a single ply yarn that is also relatively high twist, a little bit dense, and there's only 114 yards per 100 grams. But this yarn is spectacular. Whatever technique I do, because it is so thick, you get an almost glazed effect of the way the colors bind to it. Because they tend to bind to the outside, there's resist just from the thickness of the ply and the twist. I just adore how it absorbs color. It would be nice if there was more yardage and if the yarn base itself was a little bit cheaper, but it's lovely. There are some places in this yarn where you can see a little bit more of the green of the sea spray, but overall the effect that that color has is very, very subtle. I think it just adds a hair of some more warmth. I wanted the overall yarn to be blue, but if it was going to hinge a little bit one direction or another, I wanted it to be on the more yellow green side versus the more purple side. For our third colorway, I did speckles. Again, using the same 5 colors and using straight dye powder. I didn't dilute any of the powders with citric acid. And I was speckling in a low immersion situation versus on the countertop, which allowed us to get some spread. And so what was interesting is that one of the comments I got during the live stream was a suggestion that I speckle on top of a baby blue, which is the effect I wanted and is the effect we got. I just didn't dye the baby blue at first. I knew that that would come about from the way that some of these colors would likely spread as I was dyeing the yarn. However, if I had ended up with a yarn that didn't have as much pigment on it as I had wanted, then I could have overdyed it in a little bit of blue. So that would have been an option if the colors hadn't spread. But they did spread, and you can still see a little bit of all of them. Oh, I forgot to say, this yarn is Knit Picks Swish DK. It is 100% superwash merino, like the other two yarn bases we used this time, but this time it's DK weight. And the yarn itself is a lot more lofty. It is not anywhere near as dense or as high twist. And I mean, it's also DK weight. I forget how many yards this yarn has, but the reason why with the other skeins I bring up the yardage is because a lot of times when I'm thinking worsted weight in my head, I think 220 yards per 100 grams. And I know that's enough yardage for a hat. Some people have said that they can make a single hat out of Muse or Twill. I haven't tried. And so, but I might have to try with one of these because I love them enough that I might need to keep some of it. But anyway, in here you can see all the different color speckles. There are some spots that are a little bit yellow from some of that sea spray, but the sea spray is giving like a teal vibe here, which I love, love, love. Finally, we have our yarn mops here, which are on Knit Picks Stroll Fingering Weight yarn, 75% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon. I regret not having the yarn mops be swish as well, so we could have these to pair directly with that DK weight yarn. However, you could hold some of these double and use it with the DK, and so it is possible to mix fingering weight and DK weight yarns together. But we have soft color transitions here because all of our other techniques involved using the dry dye powder on yarn, and so I just wiped them on, and then in the end we dyed them in an immersion pan, and that let the color spread a little bit more as well. And here we have it, all of the yarn that I dyed inspired by this awesome whale photo. But the best part of the dye-alongs are not just seeing the yarn that I dyed, but it's seeing the yarn that you dyed inspired by the same photo. If you would like your colorways to be featured in future ChemKnits dye-along recap videos, just share pictures of the yarn or fiber or fabric that you dyed inspired by the photo on Instagram with the hashtag ChemKnitsDyealong, or share the photos as a photo comment on the inspiration photo on the public ChemKnits Facebook page. I always have that Facebook post linked in the live stream so that way you can find it really easily. And then I'll pick a bunch to include in the video recap. It's really fun to see how different eyes will look at a picture and pull different things that they might want to do, and then different hands create different types of colorways on yarn. If you love this yarn, go and check out the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop. I can't say for sure that all of this yarn is still in stock, but you can search the shop with the ChemKnits Dye-along, just all one word, and you'll see yarn that has come from past live streams. But almost all of the yarn in the shop has been featured in some kind of dyeing video, whether it's a dye-along, an episode of Dye Pot Weekly, or an episode of Leave No Dye Behind. And so then when you're working with the yarn, you can rewatch me create it, and it just adds another fun layer to the hand making journey. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and thank you so much for watching.